parties and platforms. But that history was kind of buried in the early 1900s and late 1800s, even as the American high school was founded. But the origins and the need for the alliance go back even further than 105 years to the origins, really, of this flaw that was in the founding of the Bank of England in 1694. And that really marked not the beginning of money, not the beginning of monetary relations, not even quite the beginning of modern money. It could have gone different ways. But the founding of the Bank of England was really marked the beginning of the now normative and global, private, interest-driven, debt-based modern money system. And really it marked the victory of the money power and imperialism over democracy, justice, and sustainability for all. And we all know the history that happened from 1694 globally. And money was the driving force, and it seemed to serve many people's interests and facilitated commerce, served people's interests differently. But the flaw was there to begin with, and it's in understanding the origins of the systemic flaw that we can best overcome it. And that flawed system, it was not the only monetary path that humanity could have taken, nor need now stay on. Through the commercial, financial, industrial, and now digital revolutions, from really the 13th century up to the present day. And it's up to us, all of us, whatever organizations we're a part of, to transform this system and this path we're on in the US, if not and globally, into a sovereign money system that is in the public interest. And Stephen's going to talk a bit just about the mission of the Alliance.
I tend to speak extemporaneously, but I'm going to actually read something. The mission is to research, educate, and organize for real monetary reform. We define real monetary reform as the development, implement, and protection of a transparent public sovereign money system consistent with Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5 of the U.S. Constitution, to serve the general welfare and commerce of society. Achieving sovereign money requires 3 reforms of our existing monetary system. And I can go straight to the next one because we know what they are. I'm going to read them now. One is this is straight from Stephen Zerlanga's 3 principles that were adopted with IMMR and has been adopted by us. Require, and in the case of the United States, to require Congress to exercise its constitutional power to be the sole creator of all U.S. money, debt-free, and to establish a transparent and independent public monetary authority to determine the amount of new money the Treasury will disperse under authority of Congress. 2, end the privilege of commercial banks to create and issue what we use as money. We kept it simple there, I guess. Transfer ownership of the 12 Federal Reserve banks and the national one in Washington, and all remaining operations of the Federal Reserve System to the U.S. Treasury. So we're in alignment with IMMR there.
And Howard will carry us on.
Well, for just a bit, we have guiding principles that we decided that we should have. And they are that we are a nonpartisan organization of people of all political, vocational, philosophical, and personal viewpoints who share the common value of working together, and with individual and organizational allies who share our purpose to understand and achieve real monetary reform. We have 8 guiding principles to guide our work. Accountability to each other and responsibility for achieving our mission, right? Transparency and honesty, can't have a monetary system that isn't, and that we would want. And affirmation of the dignity and worth of all life and the ecosystem upon which we all depend. What we learned about this particular value was that you have to be very careful when you're talking to people who have religious beliefs, that sometimes this elicits a reaction. And so we actually kind of lost a member over this particular point. Further, dedication to continuous learning and educating of the public, decision-making through informed dialogue, consensus building, and democratic inclusion, economic and political independence, participation grounded in self-respect, mutual respect, and enjoyment of our work together. Kind of like the Margaret Mead quote, and her daughter said that she filled it out further. She said that you know, a small group could do it, but they had to have respect for one another's values. And grassroots organizing to build power to affect systemic change.
So those guiding principles, I think, are reflective of the money system we're trying to create, but they are the guiding principles of the organization and the ways in which we work together as people to achieve transformation of the money system. So this statement here just really fleshes out the mission and the guiding principles in terms of how we achieve it. So the purpose of the Alliance is to achieve our mission, namely to effect the real monetary reform through research, education, and organizing on behalf of public sovereign money. And the word public there is important. We heard today in presentations of other usage of the term sovereign money that is defining even the money that we have now as sovereign beyond the tiny percentage of it that we know it is. So it's public sovereign money. We work in multi-sectoral ways, so with all different walks of life, all different ways of making a living, to build a well-informed and active movement for monetary reform rooted in local communities, linked within and across states, to move our elected representatives to understand the need for, i.e. education is implicit there, and the means to achieve sovereign money in the public interest, is understanding the kind of legislation that is already written and can be reintroduced, maybe perfected a little more, but that combination of understanding the need for it and the means to achieve it. Our research, conducted by our own members and in conjunction with other monetary reform organizations in the US, i.e. AMI, and internationally, focuses on the development, implementation, and protection, as Stephen said, of public sovereign money in the digital age, and on the implications of superseding our existing private interest-driven debt-based money system with a public sovereign money system. So doing research that looks at the effects that it will have on mining, on water, on agriculture, on education, on health care, on social work, on cabinet making, on architecture. And simply, we educate, design, and organize for the needed monetary reform in the United States. So we're a member organization. It's a membership organization, and there are a variety of levels of membership. So there are individuals and organizations. And within individuals, you can simply become a member. A one-time joining, there are applications on the back. It's a matter of understanding the mission and the guiding principles and saying, yeah, I agree with that. I want to be part of that. And a little $20 fee and you're a lifetime member. If you want to be a voting member, there is the opportunity to pay some dues, and we haven't even set what they will be yet, but they're not going to be high dues. We're looking for hundreds. We currently have 22 members. Hopefully, those of you who aren't a member by the end of today will fill out your application. But we're looking for hundreds, thousands, millions. We have millions paying $20 to join. We're going to be a mighty force of people of people's money behind us to change the money system. But we're not only individuals, we also have organizational members. Our first application has just been written of the first organizational member. So the board will, read through it and accept the organization. But that's from all sectors of the economy, society, and government. The Illinois Education Association, like the Chicago Teachers Union, endorsed the NEED Act and AMI's work on that. But any organization can join the Alliance, one-time fee, and be a lifetime member. If it wants to be a voting member and have one vote as an organization, it too can be a level 2 member. Then finally, the other kind of organization are chapters. So local, regional, and statewide chapters of the Alliance for Just Money. And that really is where the work in local communities, laterally across communities, within a region, within a state, and across states, that is the work I talked about doing last year at this conference and got waylaid in that process because we had to create a new organization to do it through. But that is the kind of work the Alliance is created to do. And so in addition to those chapters, the work of the Alliance happens through 7 committees. 3 are internally focused. It was really mattered to us to have a governance structure that can survive us as individuals. I want to see monetary reform in Joe Bongiovanni's lifetime. I want to see it in Lucienne's lifetime, in Howard Switzer's lifetime.
You better eat healthy.
In my lifetime, in Virginia's lifetime, which we learned she turned 70 yesterday. I, though, am not too naive to know we may go the way of Stephen Zarlenga and Robert Poteet. I want the Alliance for Just Money and AMI and any progressive Center for Progressive Economics or organization to be structured in a way that can survive as an organization embodying what we all believe that can continue for the duration for as long as it takes. So that's why we're set up that way. The internal committees, we won't talk about them, executive committee, board development committee, finance and fundraising. But then there are 4 externally and programmatically focused committees, and you'll hear about them shortly. So I won't even name them now, just for the sake of time. You'll hear about them in a moment. But the work of one of those, the Communications and Website Committee, our work has begun, and there is a splash page. Is there anyone in the room who has not seen the Alliance for Just Money splash page? So very few, so we won't read on it. Hopefully I can get back to it, but I'll just give you a little image. A splash page is like a save the date postcard. It's a save the URL postcard, but it's out there. MonetaryAlliance.org, very similar to monetary.org for AMI. But this is it, and it describes who we are, what we do, a number of quotes, and then why we're needed. And then it says, stay tuned at the bottom and contact us. And you're going to hear about the work that has brought that to be, as well as the ongoing work that will transfer this to a real full-fledged website. But this exists, and like you've heard many times, we are part of AMI. We grew out of IMI. We wanted to work within AMI, and we are working as an adjunct and continuing to breathe life and future into the work of Stephen and Robert. The NEED Act exists. You don't know how many people I've sent to this website. The power of being able to send a civil servant, an elected official, a colleague, a professor somewhere, a community member, the lifeguard at my public pool this summer I sent here. He's a high school kid. But having a short legislation that people can read and understand is very, very powerful. You've heard numerous groups here today that have been part of AMI over the years and are working in their own countries for a sovereign money reform movement. The Alliance just became, maybe a month ago or so, the 28th member of the International Monetary Reform, and you can go to their website to read a lot more about the different groups involved. And some of the major ones we've heard about here today are ones that we see our work as being lateral to and in collaboration with. We sent one of our organizing committee members and a number of the broader members who were working in the community of Alliance folk to the IMNR meeting last May. This is how it's been possible to have a national organization be built and work nationally. It's really hard to meet, and so the medium that we've used today and yesterday to bring speakers from all over the world who couldn't be here is really, really powerful. It's not foolproof. You've seen some of the flaws in the technology, and conducting democratic meetings in a Zoom session, it can be challenging, but it's amazing. And we have this way to work together in our local communities, and yet across our local communities as a nationwide organization, and then linked up internationally with other monetary reform movements. The moment is ours now. But this is a little picture of the founding meeting on July 15th. Many people in the room were present for that. Were people here today or yesterday. And then this is the Alliance board. And all of us are here. Maybe those who have not stood up yet could just stand up and introduce, or Bo Young is not in the room. She's doing the filming now. But why don't the rest of you just stand up a moment? So that's kind of the presentation of the gist. Before I want to turn it over to each of the four chairpersons of the externally focused committees, just to talk a little bit about what the work of that committee has been already and is going to be in the near future, and the long-term future has to be lived out. Paul, you want to start with communications and website committee?
Well, I co-chair the communications and website committee with Bo Young. And I'm just a lowly physicist. I don't have any background in communications at all, but I do have ideas. And it's a very heavy responsibility, because we are the voice and the face of this fledgling organization. I believe that our message is utterly simple and intuitive. But just because it's simple and intuitive doesn't mean it's easy to get that message communicated. And we're looking for ways. A lot of you out there have writing skills, and we're going to be seeing if we can tap into some of that. Having said that, I think the theory is sound. We have this amazing book here. We have the NEED Act. We have dozens of books out there that describe monetary reform in many forms. But I think the time for writing books is, at least for now, past. We gotta get the message out. So that is my heavy responsibility. Again, we all who are in this movement are so enamored with it that sometimes we forget that there's a whole vast population out there who just doesn't get it, is not interested in it. And finding those hooks that can grab people and inspire them and actually incite them, get them a little angry. That's what we're searching for this website. So again, we're going to be pinging on you out there to help contribute to getting our message out. Thanks very much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I just have a quick thought about membership and movement committee is one of the wonderful things that we may expand on, but members have been allowed to join the coffee house. We've had fantastic conversations on all sorts of topics. The history of money, the NEED Act, the monetary movement, socialism, on and on and on. And they've gone on twice a month for the last approximately 6 months. And they've been wonderful, and that will be an ongoing thing, and all members are allowed to continue. Once we get up and running further, we hope to do it in a public sense. But that's a strong part of that education piece we do. Slightly disagreeing with Paul. I think books maybe are still useful, but it's doing a lot of what positive money is doing. We want to be very action-oriented, and I won't go into it, but we're also into the research. But we're covering it in totality, and we want you to be part of it, and please consider joining. And I get to work with this wonderful person, Sue, as co-chair, and I tend to schmooze around Chicago pushing money and get up to Madison and a few other places locally. And Sue's done wonderful work with Zarlanga's book in New York City and bringing people. Say something about New York. But it's what we need to do elsewhere.
Well, I see the membership and outreach committee. What goes through my head is the outreach. Trying to learn how to reach out to other groups. And as we've learned from different speakers, this conference, it can be difficult because people have their own issues. So learning how to reach out and how to make those connections. For instance, I have a group in New York that is a money group, and this year, for the first time, we went to the Left Forum and we gave a talk. I've talked there a lot, but they haven't, and they did it and they were great. And now we're trying to reach out to a professor at Queens College. One of our members in this group lives right nearby. Reach out to him because he has an internet show where he interviews people, and we're trying to reach him and introduce this idea to him because what he's interested in is justice, and I think that's the kind of thing that we're thinking of. So we would love help. If you're interested in that kind of outreach and learn with us, because I see it as a learning experience.
So John Howell is chair of the Research and Policy Committee.
Thanks, Lucille. Yeah, the Research and Policy Committee, well, it's going to have to do with research, and the first question is, well, what is research? And there are two different ideas of research that I think we'll both be undertaking. And one is simply collating information that's already out there. That's a kind of form of research. And the other is fostering the creation of new knowledge, and that's original research. Most of us on the committee are really not in a position to do that original research, but what we hope to be able to do is to be able to form links with people who are in positions to do that. Many of these people will be university people. So it's our hope to be able to make, to reach out in those directions, because there are many questions that are not fully answered as we have discussed them today and throughout this meeting that need further exploration. So our task will be twofold in that regard in terms of research, that is to say, collating information that's already available and searching for new information and new understandings. And the purpose of all of that, of course, is to ultimately lead to policy. And policy will be the focus of Joe Bongiovanni's committee, Legislative Action Committee. But we feel that we have a responsibility to help with that. And of course, we feel we have a responsibility also to provide our results of research efforts to both the outreach process of the Membership and Movement Committee and the website committee, because we hope to be able to help undergird their efforts as well. So two of the specific things that are listed up there in terms of our goals are to establish an electronic library of resources that will be available to anyone, ultimately through the website. And many of you all, and some on the committee, have been doing this stuff a long time and already have extensive libraries put together that will be essential for that effort. And many of you who are not on the committee undoubtedly have experiences and expertise in various areas of this, and we would be happy to have your help in each of those areas as well to make this effort as broad and as successful and as thorough as we can make it. So there will be an electronic library of resources then, that is our goal. Secondly, that's listed up there is question and answers for newcomers to monetary reform. And this, in fact, will be our first effort, because this is the kind of thing that's needed now on the web, for the website. And here there's also a rich history, because all of those of you who looked at the 32-pager that Stephen Zarlanga produced, it's got, what, about 5 or 6 pages of 20 questions and answers. I mean, and this is the kind of thing that's needed. And that effort will have to be brought up to date. Things have changed a little bit, and I think that there are many other questions. We've had one meeting of the committee so far on Zoom, and basically what we decided to do at that committee was to assign ourselves the task of generating the questions that we want up there, and we have those together. I have them, and I haven't gotten collated and redistributed to the committee members, but that will be our next step. And then obviously asking people to take a shot at drafting these various answers. And undoubtedly that will come back to the whole committee, and we'll chew on these things a little bit, and some of them will look at and say, man, that's right on, let's go with that one, send it to the website committee. Others we may want to chew over, because some of them may be more difficult and may have some nuances that we'll want to consider. But those are our tasks that we're setting up for ourselves, and again, we hope we'll get some help from all of you in the monetary reform community. Thanks. Joe is next.
So maybe before, as Joe's making his way up here, I just would point out, people reference the Monetary Reform Coffee House, and Mark Young and Bo Young Lim spearheaded the formation of that, and it's it's via Zoom every 2 weeks, once on a Saturday morning, the other on a Monday night. And it's been a learning process among us and newcomers as they've joined us, and sometimes we have resources from elsewhere. And the last time we really dug deeply, we're in a process now of digging deep into the NEED Act to make sense better and better of what's there, and any things that we do think need correction.
Thank you, Lucille. And so first thing I want to say is I love these people. I love being with them. I love working with them. This is this is something that is taking a great deal of time for us to get born, as Lucille says, but it's something that's been a huge work of enjoyment and love, and I'm really proud to be working with these guys to get this organization going. Now, having said that, there is something that's still going from the conference here that I wanted to clarify, which is that when Jamie was introducing me, he said that Stephen Zarlenga, once said he thought that I was one of the few, most knowledgeable people about monetary reform, and which I'm honored to hear that he said that. But I didn't come to it through Stephen like most people did. Stephen's the one that, he got this thing going, and hopefully, we're an outgrowth of that effort. But then he said, his interpretation was well, that would be Stephen, and that would be Bob, and then there's Joe, and I was like, oh, I never really thought of it that way, because not because the two of them have passed on, and Lucille now says she wants to get this job done in my lifetime, so we just better get going really quick on this thing. But really, because to me, quite frankly, is the fact that we've there's actually a third musketeer that goes along with Bob and with Stephen, who we didn't mention, and that was Dick Distelhorst. And for those of you who never got to know Dick Distelhorst, you really missed something. When I came to my first conference and I met Dick Distelhorst, he was the guy who reminded me most of my dad. Okay? He was passionate, and knowledgeable, and like that, with the facts and with the things that hadn't changed. So, so I guess what I want to say is that, hopefully those are the three that have passed on, and now we've got an open road ahead of us, so we don't have to rush this thing through. So yeah, I've already talked about the fact that the Legislative Action Committee, of which I'm directing, are coming up with what I see, and hopefully the rest of us see, to present to the board, because this is a very democratic organization, that the board will see to adopt the resolution that we're passing, and then that resolution will actually, I really do hope, I'll be honest with y'all, I really do hope that resolution, I almost said revolution, almost said revolution.
By the morning.
By the morning, will be something that a lot of people are going to read, okay? Because it does lay out, you saw the preamble to it, but it does lay out the reason why we have to do this thing, and in calling for it, that a lot of people, I'm hoping, are going to be looking at that and saying, you know what, this is something that we need to do, we need to participate in, and we need to move forward with. So I'm just going to leave it at that, But like I said, thanks very much to all of you for being here, and Jamie for the privilege of us being here and having you on board.
So there are a number of people in the room, including one who just stood up, who were members of the organizing committee that gave birth to the Alliance for Just Money, brought together the founding meeting, and that group, as well as a wider group, many of whom are here, were the ones who vetted the mission statement, and really the mission statement, and then the final bylaws, and voted on that. And all of them were welcome to, were nominated to be run for the board, and everybody did unless they withdrew themselves from election. And so there was an election of 13 and then 12, one removed himself. So out of 12 people, we elected a board of 9 members. And if you're a member of any organization, even filling out a board of 3 people or 6 people is sometimes told difficult. And we started from the get-go with a board of 9 people, and we're going strong. We've had 6 meetings already since then. It took 15 or 16 meetings of the organizing committee, and I just want to recognize those people. Help me if I've misremembered, but Howard Switzer and Sue Peters were both members of the organizing committee, as was I. Joe Bongiovanni, Howard Marks, if you want to raise your hand a little bit, Howard, deserve a lot of credit.
Tom Wilder. Is Tom here?
No.
Tom Wilder.
Yes, there. Stephen, no.
Mark Young.
Tom, yeah, I knew he was back there. Tom Wilda, from Chicago, counseling, social services, and, okay, so help me,
Mark Young.
Mark Young, who stood up as we left, and then Greg Coleridge.
There he is.
Here's
There's
Mark Young, organizing committee, now secretary of the Alliance for Justice.
Treasurer.
Paul is the secretary, Mark is the treasurer.
He has the money.
He's got the money. Bo Young is the vice president, and Greg Coleridge was on the organizing committee, Michael Griffith was on the organizing committee, and who else did I forget?
Debbie Hutton, was she on?
No.
Virginia, were you on?
No, I don't know. There were 9 of us. Did I forget someone?
I don't know. I
Anyhow.
don't think-
But I just would like to give those of you, the organizing committee was a lot of slugging work. December 10th was a broad meeting. Mary Sanderson was part of that meeting. Mark Pesch would have been, but it was a time he couldn't make. Hovert was part of that meeting. Virginia was part of the December 10th meeting that really gave birth to the Alliance for Just Money. Joe gave the call for that after the AMI board encouraged us to go do this. Nick Titteman joined in the end of the founding meeting. Yeah, it was a labor of love, and it still is. So that's basically our presentation, and we had a little time for any questions, comments, ideas of yours, and then there is an encouragement, and we will end in song. So I just want to throw that out there so we don't forget, but are there any comments, questions, ideas?
I would just like to mention there's a few, Jerry and Al and Gilbert and other people, Nick and lots of people, Michie,
Michael Holden?
Michael Holden, have worked on various parts of projects. You know, the parody, Randy Cook's presentation was a project. Gilbert's has been leading us biblically, I mean, not biblically. Leading us in
Yeah, what's the word?
library work, if you will, and philosophy. Bibliography, thanks. Even teachers get their tongue tied. And, you know, Michie coming and Vera coming, helping out with our little Hungry project here, but in philosophy and going forward and nuancing a lot of things, and so we can all go together. So we've done projects in the past. I think our first big one was the Democracy Convention, when 13 of us and Jamie were there, 14 of us were there, and we've done projects ever since, and we're waiting for you all to join in on those projects. We're marching together. Questions, thoughts, comments?
I would like
Oh, Mary,
I would like to express an appreciation
parody
and
and everything.
admiration.
Madison.
I was on the edges of this last year. I only met these people last year. But I have seen the hours of dedication and the skill that they bring to what they're doing. And I have also seen the beautiful interpersonal unity in this group. It's inspiring for me to think about going forward with this group. And I'm deeply grateful to you all.
Thank you.
And Mary has done an incredible amount of work in that process in bringing 4 women together at a conference, a women's conference in Madison, Wisconsin, and bringing people to that session, and bringing Howard Switzer to northern Wisconsin, I think, to a food justice gathering, And I suspect that there will be a competition between Madison, Wisconsin and Chicago area for the first chapter of the Alliance. I would like to make a wager, if anybody wants, a little fundraising gig here. Do I hear $100 for Chicago? 150 for Madison? No, but anyhow. That's the first organization, not chapter. So, any other questions or suggestions or comments?
I have a suggestion. I see that you have an answer already, but I would suggest a song, Pennies from Heaven, the 1930s. So I think it's very appropriate. Pennies from Heaven. It should be sung at the end of each session, because it's a heaven. And I have a question. What are the preconditions for joining a committee? It's a serious question.
The conditions for joining the committee
That's right, yes.
is being a member of so joining the Alliance, and there's a little application form on the back table, and it's a matter of agreeing to the mission and the guiding principles. That's all it takes to join. And then the board, gets the membership application and say, ooh, I know.
We're waiting for you to join,
I have a
Michelle,
question.
and you can join a committee or two committees and be involved.
I'm quite serious now. Thank you.
My question was, I was called away for a few minutes, but how do we form what do we have to do to have a local chapter?
Well, you gotta wait.
Do we have any framework yet or not?
Yes. So on the back table is an application for an individual membership, an organizational membership, and for forming a chapter. So the chapter membership, our application is there. I think you need 3 people to form a chapter. That's it. That form probably, it's maybe draft. It probably will be revised a little bit, but it's our starting place. So that's it. Read the form and have your people and what you want to do, and yeah.
One other thing, I'm quite sure I know the answer already, but just for the film or whatever it is, the entire presentation that you just gave is on the website for the Alliance for Just Monetary Alliance.org, monetaryalliance.org, correct?
Yeah.
It's not yet, but is that a suggestion?
Yeah, I think so. The guiding
That's the
principles
plan.
and everything.
That's the
Oh,
plan.
the bylaws, yeah.
Yeah. What you did when you first started the presentation.
Yeah, that is on there.
So those come from our bylaws, and those they're not on the splash page, but yes, those will be on a membership page of the monetaryalliance.org website. Yes. Maybe you could be a second.
It's a biblical question.
Yes. So here I'm sitting amicably next to the acting director of AMI, and my question is about the future of our corporation. I'm very touched that we're sitting here, that you gave us here the platform to promote the Alliance. At the same time, there's so many speakers at this conference that come from the Alliance, or that became part of the Alliance. Many of us are part or will become part of it. So my question is, what might be our future be together? And I'm only thinking like something like, well, we can do conferences together because we're on the same school, as I say. We're more or less the same team, or we're cooperating there. So I like just to say that I'm very touched how we team together here throughout these days.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, okay, what will be more formally be our future? Because I want to keep sitting next to him.
Well, give him the mic and see what happens.
Well, we're still picking
pieces of, and to people, our friends, we're all friends. And, it's, well, I haven't really had much time to think about it, but I think I think that but the enthusiasm of this group is fantastic, and I think that the diversity approach is a good way to go rather than centralisation. I in the last year in doing looking into blockchain and cryptocurrencies and that, I've sort of changed my thinking a bit about centralisation and decentralisation. So I think that it's good to have a diversity of different groups that can specialise in particular niches and talents, and AMI has a lot of paper-based material and recorded material, and that's sort of that is a great resource. But there's also, it's good to sort of have in biology, plants they send out seeds through the wind and all that, and so it's like you start growing more plants, and it's the way that things grow in nature, and I think that's a good way to go, and that's why I see this group. And also, then there are other monetary groups in America, and we are from the same school, and they are possibly not from the same school. But how do we reach out and sort of try and reach some commonality, because we do need to build some strength in numbers, and it's not going to be easy. And then Mark Pash was saying we've got to, he is suggesting that we need to try and find ways to work with other movements. I mean, within our sort of area of like public banking and MMT possibly, where we can. And then there's, of course, then we've got to reach out beyond that to other people who are interested in other things like affordable housing and recycling, all sorts of things. And so it's like, I think that there is strength in diversity, so I think that's it's an exciting way to go, rather than sort of focused on one sort of node, to use the term of in blockchain and distributed systems. It's good to have lots of nodes, so that if there's an attack on one, then there are other nodes that it's very difficult to attack everything at once, even with the resources of our adversaries. I think it would be stronger having a multi-nodal approach.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay, Jamie, right.
Other thoughts?
I'd like to hear from the Alliance on this issue that
I think
about communication, participation,
No.
doing projects, whatever.
Well, the way I would put it, maybe it's not addressing that exactly, but this is the way I look at it, is that like Jamie said, we're an outgrowth, okay? And we're associated, and we're connected, and we will be. And there's not a wedge out there with a sharp enough point that's going to be able to separate us, no matter what happens. We're all in this together.
Well said, well said.
And as Stephen used to remind us of what Aristotle used to say about we're going to learn as we go.
We have the word alliance as the first word in our title for a reason.
I would just add to the Alliance piece, I'm not sure it's going to end up being our logo. We've had a team at ISU, design team, working on our logo. But one of the options, they played with the Alliance in a really nice way of finding all and I in the word, and working with that graphically in a really nice way.
Hi. Well, action speaks louder than words, and there's a lot of activity that the Alliance has had in the last few weeks and few months, and pushing up to the climax at July 15th of forming the organization officially. And I think what happens in the future between Jamie and Lushan and AMI and ourselves is what's going to define the relationship between us. The words are less important than the action.
So I would only add, and Culvert's well aware of this discussion, but we are incorporated in the state of Illinois. We have been dogged by the question of whether we're forming ourselves as a 501c3 or 501c4 organization as registered with the IRS. If AMI or the Center for Progressive Economics wants to be our 501c3, will be its 501c4. And we will help either of those organizations to survive, if not flourish, and we will help the Alliance to flourish by having a 501c3 that we can do our grant writing and receiving of donations from the folk that have enough to give away to care about, it being get credit on your taxes. Most of us don't, especially with the new tax law. But if not, we will make that decision. We're facing amendments already of our bylaws to deal with that decision. But it's an issue because the heart and soul of the Alliance for Just Money is to go for broke, to go for, to go for the gold, which is sovereign public money. And
To swing through the fence.
Don't confuse the public.
yeah, we know what we mean. It's, go for broke or go for gold. And we want both of them. And we don't want to be hampered down the road, but the bulk of the work we have to do to get there now is educational work, is the research work, is work that is tax exemptable. And if that's where we've been headed all along, but as we reach the stage where we're overdue to get that paperwork in, if somebody stepped up to the plate and said, yeah, you can help us survive if we be your 501c3, we'll probably be happy. And if not, we're gonna go forward without it. But we're at that juncture now. So, I had a conversation with Lucienne last night. Jamie is right here.